Sterling Blake. I was born in New York at the dawn of the 20th century, 6 feet tall, dark brown hair, blue eyes, and I always carry a pack of Chesterfields, a habit from another time. My favorite cocktail, it is the Mary Pickford, a touch of rum, a slice of pineapple, a drop of grenadine, and just a whisper of Grand Marnier. Women, airplanes, and beautiful cars, those are my passions. But above all, I love the unknown, discovery, and adventure. I've traveled the four corners of the world chasing the stories that shaped this century. I've met the good and the wicked, the brave and the cowardly, the patriots, the dictators, the stars, the powerful and the forgotten. White, black, yellow, rich or poor, I've met them all. I've been part of their lives and their world. From Classic Cool Studio, this is RetroStory, a passport to the past where every sound and every frame tells a story. Today we're traveling back to New York, 1939. Like many young men of my generation, I wanted to be a journalist, not because it was safe, but because it gave me a front row seat to the world as it really was. I didn't know it yet, but journalism would lead me somewhere else entirely, somewhere quieter, more dangerous. This is my story, and this is how it began. It was 1939. I had just been hired by a major evening newspaper in New York. I was a young man, eager, impatient, convinced that words could still make a difference. One morning, my editor called me into his office. He didn't ask me to sit down. That was never a good sign. He asked a single question. "Are you ready to go to Europe?" Germany was tightening its grip on the continent, and the name Hitler was on every front page. Poland, everyone said, would be next. I said yes. Not because I was brave, because I didn't really have a choice. When a newspaper sends you into the field, you go. That's the job. Everything was arranged quickly, too quickly. Passage aboard the Normandie, first class. My editor told me it would allow me to work in comfort during the crossing. To think, to prepare. At the time, I thought it was generous. Later, I would wonder why he insisted. In fact, he wanted me to mingle with the world's elite. That same week before my departure, I kept my usual habits. I loved music, jazz mostly. Whenever I could, I would walk near Fifth Avenue down to a small record shop on Madison Street, a place where the world sounded lighter than it really was. That's where I met her. Her name was Veronica Vale. She was new at the shop, blonde, light brown hair actually. She knew her music. Benny Goodman, Fats Waller, Glenn Miller, big bands. Records I already loved and a few I didn't know yet. She watched me longer than a saleswoman normally would, and I noticed. We talked. And then, without quite deciding it, we walked to the coffee shop around the corner. It was an ordinary place, too ordinary for what came next. Over coffee, Veronica said something that didn't belong in that room. She told me the job at the record store wasn't her only profession. She said it calmly, almost casually, and for the first time in my life, I realized that journalism might not be the only reason someone wanted to know where I was going. Veronica didn't raise her voice. She didn't lean closer. She simply told me that some records arrived at the shop before they were released, that some customers were not really customers, and that some conversations were never about music. I laughed. It sounded absurd, like a story told too late at night. She let me laugh. That's what convinced me. Veronica said she worked in Washington, not in an office with a name on the door, not for a department you could look up in a directory. She said her job was to listen, to remember, to notice what others ignored. She knew I was leaving for Europe. She knew the name of the ship. She even knew the cabin. That was the moment the room changed. The coffee tasted different. The noise outside faded. And I realized this conversation had started long before I walked into that record shop. Veronica never used the word spy. She talked about journalists instead, about what they see, about what they hear, about what they understand too late. She said Europe was becoming a place where the truth no longer traveled alone, that it needed witnesses, sometimes it needed messengers. I told her I was just a reporter. She smiled and said that was precisely the point. We met again and again. Between my preparations and her long walks through the city, something else took shape. Something quieter, more dangerous. Falling in love has a way of making everything feel inevitable, even the mistakes. A week later, I boarded the Normandie. First class was a world apart. Champagne and caviar before noon. Laughter without consequence. Men who spoke of Europe as if it were a rumor. My editor had been right. This was where people talked too much. I listened. About business, about politics, about borders that no longer mattered. And I wrote none of it down. Somewhere in the Atlantic, with the lights low and the engine steady, I understood something. Journalism had given me a reason to travel. Veronica had given that travel another meaning entirely. I was heading toward Europe as a reporter. I would arrive as something else. But I didn't know that yet. None of us ever does. Veronica told me she would be traveling as well. Not as Veronica from a record store on Madison Street. This time, she would be Veronica Vale, a talent scout working for one of the major Hollywood studios. Paris, London, Berlin, new faces, new voices, new possibilities. It sounded convincing, too convincing. On the first evening aboard the Normandie, we were seated at the captain's table. That alone told me everything I needed to know. Veronica belonged there. I didn't. She spoke little, but when she did, people listened. With a look, she guided my attention. A producer, a banker, a diplomat pretending to be neither. She never named them aloud. She didn't have to. Later that night, she handed me a leather case. Inside, there was a small radio transmitter, compact, precise. She showed me how to use it as if she were teaching me how to tune a record player, calmly, patiently. You won't need it often, she said, and when you do, you won't have time to ask questions. We didn't speak much after that. There was no need. Veronica would stay only briefly in Paris. London awaited her. From there, she would return to Washington by private plane. Just another itinerary, just another cover. As for me, I would continue east with a press card in my pocket and a voice in my ear I had not yet learned to ignore. The Normandie moved forward, steady and silent. Behind us, New York disappeared into the fog. Ahead, Europe waited, and with it, a world that would never quite return to normal. I thought I was crossing the Atlantic to report on history. I didn't realize I was stepping into it. This is Sterling Blake from Classic Cool. You've been listening to Retro Story, a passport to the past, the adventures of Sterling Blake. Episode 1, New York, 1939, Before the Crossing. In our next episode, the journey continues. Paris, shadows and whispers, and the first signs that journalism was no longer my only assignment. You can find Retro Story, a passport to the past, on all major podcast platforms. Until our next destination, this is Sterling Blake.
Retro Story, your passport to the past. Should be a journey through time, from city lights to ancient nights. Retro Story, your passport.